Hey, everybody. Welcome to our next installment of our clown show that we call the Justice Revolution. I love that title, by the way. I'm your host, James the Patriot. Today is Friday, June the 23rd in the year of our Lord 2023. Can you guys believe that? June 23rd already?
It's crazy.
Crazy.
Where the heck has this flipping year gone? My gosh.
Fast.
Anyway, thank you all. As you guys remember, we didn't have a show last week. I was traveling. I was in Denver for some training. Believe you me, I would have much rather done a show than sit through the training I was in. So anyway, so we've got some things to chat about. You guys can see here, I'm donning a new shirt today. I'm going to put the camera down a little bit.
Just a regular dad trying not to raise liberals.
Yep.
Good Lord.
I got that for Father's Day, so thank you to the wifer and the kids.
It's a cute one.
Yep. I have to tell this funny little story. So this past Monday, I don't know what the deal was, but apparently it's a holiday, Juneteenth. Never even heard of it. I mean, I know what Juneteenth is. I know. Look at Erica. She's like, I'm trying not to get a headache right now. So this past Monday was Juneteenth, and my company gave us the day off. Don't ask me why, whatever. Anyway, I took full advantage of it. Took the kiddos. I had me, my twin boys, and my other son, and we went to go see a movie. And I decided to wear this shirt. So we go up to the counter there to get some popcorn, and the individual helping us, and I don't know what to say, honestly, because this individual had a name tag, and it said he, them. I'm just like, I don't even know how to respond to that. So when I walked up wearing this shirt, the look on this
Right.
I mean, now that granted, they, I don't know how he wants to, I'm just going to call him he was very nice. You know, he was nice, got our popcorn and our drinks, but it was, I told my wife, I was like, man, I wish I would have been able to record that because it was awesome. So anyway, how about you two, Justice, Erica, what's new in your world? How was Father's Day at y'all's house?
Oh my goodness. Well, all the berries on the property are in full bloom, so we're going crazy, gathering all the berries, and I showered just today, just for you.
Just today, the first time this week?
I don't usually shower in the middle of the day. I wait till the end of the day because I'm digging in dirt and tromping through the woods. Okay. And, I just found some wood conch mushrooms in one of the trails we were blazing, and so I'm going to make a tincture out of that. It's really highly powerful for immune boosting your system, and you can use them as a natural canvas. I learned that today. There's all kinds of art, like you dry them out and you paint on them and you can carve on them. It's really amazing. So
awesome. What about you, Justice? What happened in your neck of the woods?
Oh, not a lot. Same old similar stuff. Yeah. We're just we're laying low. We did go see a movie for Father's Day, and we've been spending a lot of time with horses. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, you tell me your daughter is really big into horses right now.
She's learning mounted archery, so she's shooting bow and arrow on horseback.
She's pulling a Merida, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You know the movie I'm talking about, Merida?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Let me just say, for those that don't know who Erica is, Erica was a whistleblower a couple of years ago. She is a registered nurse, and she's in the system. And sadly, she literally threw her body on people's bodies to prevent them from having treatments they should not have. And she got out of the system, and she is learning God's methods of healing and taking all the wonderful blessings from nature. So, and she's got a big thing. You'll all hear about it when she gets it all put together, but she's creating a sanctuary and retreat center for natural healing in Indiana. So we're excited for her and support her, but she's big stuff there, this lady. She stood up strong. So we love her.
Yeah, she's absolutely kind of a big deal. So we need to make sure that we make her the big deal that she is, which is why I'm so glad that she's finally rejoined us. We took a hiatus there for a little while, and she was missed for sure. Now, grant you, we did have some stellar fill-ins, and I'd still like to see if Crash would like to join us from time to time, because I always enjoy Crash's point of view and her opinions. Yes.
Yep. I spoke with her this morning. Her computer died, so she won't be on air. It's a new one.
All right, maybe next week.
Yep.
Maybe next week. So,
yep.
Well, a couple of news item roundup. Just a couple things to touch on real quick, and then we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of the show with our guest Mindy, who's been patiently waiting. So, for those of you that listen to the Rule of Law Radio, I will be on with Randy tonight, Randy and Brett Fountain. So you guys know Randy Kelton. I'm a big fan of his. He has the Telegram group. It's called the Law Society, and he's been up to his neck in this stuff for 30-something years. So he's got some very interesting things he's doing. He's got lawsuits against the Chief Justice of the Texas State Supreme Court. So we're going to start seeing some interesting things coming from him. Mm-hmm. And so that will be tonight. I can't remember what time his show goes on. I think it's from 7 to 9 Central Time. I can't remember. I'll look it up here while Mindy or someone else is talking, and I'll make sure I don't give you guys the wrong information. But anyway, ruleoflawradio.com is where you'll be able to find information about that, where you can listen to it. You can listen to it live through there, or I know some great individuals will record the show and cut out the commercials. Thank you. And they'll post them up on Telegram afterwards. So there's that. Another thing, some of you have been asking about my property tax suit. So I have chosen to take a different approach than what Alphonse did. So Alphonse just went ahead and slapped him upside the head with the lawsuit, which you can totally do. There's nothing that says you can't do that. My reasoning for wanting to take the approach that I took is I don't want to give the defendants any option to wiggle their way out of this administratively or to delay this any more than they need to be. Now, I absolutely have a 100% winnable case. That's not my concern. My concern is that if I went ahead and just filed this in federal court, that they would file a motion to dismiss and it would sit there for 6, 7, 8 months, whatever that case may be. As many of you know, I still have 3. I have 3 other lawsuits that are pending in federal court, and they're just sitting there. And there's nothing that we can seem to do to get these judges off their hindquarters to do their freaking jobs. So the sad part is that Congress, they didn't really come out and say that judges have a specific time that they have to answer stuff, but they did say that they are to report any pending motions that are on the docket for 6 months or more. But my question is, what good does that do? Nobody's feet are being held to the fire. No one is being held accountable for that. So my purpose in filing a notice of tort claim using one of our statutes here. Now, mind you, like I've said before, statutes were designed and created to enforce the conduct of our public servants, not me. I don't have to adhere to those regulations because I'm not a public servant. I'm actually one of the people where I gave the power to the public servants to act on my behalf. But I chose to take this approach because, according to the statute, they have 60 days, which will be up on August the 7th. So I hand-delivered a copy of my proposed suit along with my notice of tort claim, which I put in the Telegram chat earlier today. A lot of you were asking to see that, so it's there now. They have 60 days to file some type of a response, whether they're going to ignore me or they're going to say this is garbage, or they're going to come back and say, well, in the best case scenario, what can we do to settle this, right? How can we come to a resolution? So I've already preemptively, this is chess, right? We're playing chess and we want to know what our opponent plans to do, and we're thinking 2 or 3 moves ahead. So I'm already thinking, okay, they're not going to answer. They're just going to ignore this for 60 days. So I've already put into my lawsuit that I have served them a copy of this, gave them an option to settle this administratively. They have chosen to ignore it. They now, according to the provisions of that statute, which remember, that binds their conduct, now they can no longer claim a qualified immunity defense. So that's the approach I've decided to take. So for those of you who are asking, that's where that sits. I've heard nothing. As soon as I do hear something, you guys will all be the first to know. So that's where that is. Okay. What else was I going to say? Oh, a couple of other interesting things that are happening. Have you guys noticed this? Have you guys been paying attention at all? And I just want to touch on this real briefly, and then we'll get to Mindy. But have you guys noticed recently the John Durum hearings? Have you guys been following that at all? No, Erica, Justice?
A tiny bit.
Tiny bit. So he has been subpoenaed to testify before, I think it's the House Judiciary Committee, if I remember correctly, and that's chaired by Jim Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And he is on the record stating that the United States of America is currently operating in a two-tiered system of justice, and that our republic cannot stand while it is.
Right.
That's on the record.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So for those of you who are listening to us, Erica just gave us the big, oh my gosh, the look on her face just says it all.
President's been saying it the whole time.
That's huge.
Yeah, that's big. That's bigger than, what's been in the news recently has been, Hunter Biden just took a plea deal. I mean, he got a slap on the hand. Let's just be serious.
Well, that's why that happened. And the submarine to keep us out of these courtrooms.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So there's a bunch of different things that are going on right now. Again, like I said, I don't want you guys to get mixed up in the stuff that's happening at the national level. The purpose of this podcast, the purpose of this show is to teach you what to do to get these jokers off your back where you live. So with that, let me introduce Mindy. Hello, Mindy. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So why don't you give us just a brief, give us an introduction of who you are. Where and you don't need to share details as like what city you live in, but maybe give us an idea of what part of the country you're in, and just update us on some of that information.
Okay. So my name is Mindy, and I live in Oregon, and I moved out here in 2008 from Florida. I'm a third-generation Floridian. But I wanted to be out west and, try to meet more of my farmers and get closer to the land. And when the government went haywire in 2020, my life just really turned upside down because all of us, we were like, things just didn't add up if you were very conscious of the way your government works. Not long after. So within a month, I was really clued in on problems with the narrative. And I started investigating science. What is a virus? And what is germ theory? And once I started looking at how our scientific community has been perpetrating fraud by creating the science called virology and not utilizing Koch's postulates to isolate and purify a thing before you call it a disease.
Yeah.
So I started being aware of the operation going on around us, the social distancing of 6 feet. I'm thinking, there's nothing social about distancing.
Can I interrupt real quick, Mindy?
Sure.
Just so you know, we are streaming on YouTube. And if you say the C or the V or any of that stuff, then I have to pull the video down. And we want to try not to pull it down. So just a reminder. There you go.
Thank you. Okay. So I won't go into that anymore. But so what we were being told to do was very problematic for me. And in particular, this whole concept of putting something over my breathing apparatus, I can't do that. So,
and just for the record, the majority of people can't.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just be serious.
It's a biological
Only if
necessity.
you're human, really. Or
Yeah, I
Exactly.
know.
This is kind of another part of the AI thing, is to make you do things that are against your body, right? It's to make something happen that's not humanly possible. So I started noticing that it was beyond the when you go out to do your business, business owners were following the state guidelines, which that's all it is a mandate is a guideline. And then when the rules against, so it started off where your employees had to do a certain thing, to wear a mask and, do all the sanitizing and stuff. And so
Erica knows that all too well, don't you?
Yeah. So yeah, right. So once you start doing that, then the creep is to push it onto everyone. And so then they started making customers and do these unnatural things. And I was, one of the things I just said, I moved out here to be closer to the farms and to the land, and I was supporting local businesses. And I avoid as much as possible. In fact, I've never been in the Walmart out here. I never want to go into one of those stores ever again.
So hold on a second, Mindy. You didn't move from the Sunshine State just to get to the rainy state, right? Because if I remember, because from what you say, you live on the western coast of Oregon, where it rains like 9 months out of the year, correct?
That also is not necessarily true, but it's overcast. Yes.
All right. I know.
The amount of rain that we get in Florida is like 10 times the amount you get here in Oregon.
Okay. So it is a bit of misconception there. All right. I just wondered if that was the case, or if you were tired of finding alligators in your backyard pool. One of the two.
I missed that.
Yes. Did you regret then going once Florida was the state that opened up?
No, because I'll be honest with you. I've been very astute to the politics of our country since 2000, when the Supreme Court handed the White House over to George W. Bush. It was the first time in our history that the Supreme Court actually appointed the president.
Yeah.
So what I know about politics is this. The two parties work together for the class that they represent, which is the 0.01%. And the rest of us are to, bicker amongst ourselves, call each other different names. But what I learned by moving out west is I learned that we are actually way closer in our thinking than we are different.
Yeah.
And like you said about the submarine, everything's a distraction, and so is the pronouns. And if we can just get each other to fight over guns and abortion and labels, then what the power structure can do is lay out the 5G, and they can lay out their agenda and slowly get us on digital currency, away from cash.
What's interesting, Mindy, is I remember, so prior to 2020 and all this stuff, I was, I've always felt like I was a conservative individual. So I was listening, to some of the more conservative talk show radio hosts like Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity at the time. I don't listen to any of those guys anymore, but there was something that Glenn Beck had said once that I thought was interesting. He said he was talking to George W. the most recent Bush, whatever he was. I don't care, because
George W.
Yeah, George Jr. basically. Okay, so he said he was talking to him, and George Bush said to Glenn, he says, "Glenn, I'm here to tell you, it doesn't matter who's sitting behind this desk. Nothing's going to change."
That's right.
And so to your point, you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter if you have an R, a D, an I, or any other alphabet letter behind your name. You're right. They're all part of the globalized system. So like that, if people still think that there's a two-party system in this country, you're fooling yourself.
Yeah.
There isn't.
Plenty of them do.
They both, I mean, they might just go about it differently. They both want to take your freedoms away.
Right.
They might go about one might be more open, which is what we're seeing, but the other wants the same thing. I mean, look at what they're doing. Sorry, keep going.
Can I tell you that when people have this misconception that Florida was free? No, it wasn't. Because if you lived in Seminole County, in Hillsborough County, if you lived in Broward, Dade, Palm Beach County, then that is pretty much democratically controlled. And they imposed, the mandates in those counties. So we don't really, even if you think that you can run away to a place to avoid tyranny, then it's going to close in on you. I mean, I think Nazi Germany is a perfect example of learning from history that if you turn a blind eye, if you try to protect yourself or your family in indifference to the community around you, it is going to, you're going to end up in that trap too. And you just can't run away. We have to stay where we are. We have to look at what is it that we want. Maybe we want some different systems altogether, right? If we look at things critically, like look at I'm not again, the labels do not work for me because they've said when you label me, you negate me. So I know people criticize me when I criticize capitalism, but when capitalism isn't working, and we've had 47 recessions since 1791, that means every 7 to 10 or 12 years we have a recession, we have a crash. And who gets bailed out? It's the banks and
the big guys, the banks. Yep.
Yeah. It's not capitalism; it's the bankers that control it for their
benefit. But unless you get rid of the
free
banks,
market capitalism, then it would work.
There is no free market, and we've never had it.
Right.
Well, not to throw a monkey wrench into this whole conversation here,
right?
But going back to the submarine thing, right? What were they going to see? The wreckage of the Titanic. Who was on the Titanic when it went down? Do you guys? There were some prominent individuals on the Titanic.
Yep. All the bankers that were against the Federal Reserve.
Boom. There it is, right there. It's conspiracy people. You can't go there. You know what? Guess what? Shut up. No, it's not. Because
I actually do.
How is it that just coincidentally, not even 2 or 3 weeks after the Titanic tragedy, the Federal Reserve Act gets passed?
Yep. And 2 days before the Titanic set sail, J.P. Morgan canceled his ticket or whatever.
Yep. He was scheduled to be on it and said, nope, never mind. So you can't tell me that this is just coincidence, because it's not. It's not. So anyway, Mindy, so we understand where we are, and we get the whole, it doesn't matter who they have an R, a D, whatever, they're all on the same page. So let's go to your story where you moved to Oregon and you were shopping at a local store, if my understanding is correct, right? So take it to that point.
Okay, so this local grocery store, I'm just going to avoid the names because
that's fine.
I'm involved in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, in full disclosure, guys, this is all public record. If you want to look this up, it's all available in the court filings that Mindy has. So, but just for for purposes of our show, she's chosen not to, which is totally fine.
Yeah. So this store that I've been shopping at for 6 years, I had no issue during the first months when the stores were and businesses were being told that their customers have to cover their faces. So I go into the store and one evening in early December, and I'm told that I have to either put a mask on or I have to go outside and they'll provide curbside service. And I said, I don't understand. I've been shopping this whole time without wearing one, and I've not been bothered. And so why now? And they
What
said,
changed?
well, they said we are following a strict, mandate, and that's just how it is. And so I turned my phone on. They took my cart and walked it to the front of the store. And I turned my phone on, and I was just stating what was happening on my phone, because I'm using the phone as documentation.
Yeah.
I need a witness. So the phone is that.
Mhm.
So I document what happened. I asked the manager why she's doing what she's doing, and I'm stating that these are violations of the ADA and the Civil Rights Act, and you can't do this. You can't lawfully do this.
Sure.
So I leave the store, and then I return the next day. I wanted to make sure that the same manager would be there the next day. And I had a notice of discrimination, which is something that I learned from Peggy Hall.
Yeah.
She was the one who was actually teaching me about my constitutional rights and, statutes that protect us from discrimination. And so I went in with a notice of discrimination to get the manager's signature on it, and had my phone on. And the first person I see is this gentleman, this one manager, who asked me, how could he help me? And I told him what happened the night before. And so as we're engaged in conversation, another manager comes up and says to me, my name is, and he introduces himself, and he and I discuss that I was thrown out of the store for not being able to wear a mask. And so he said, well, I think there was a misunderstanding. And so I just want to let you know you can shop here without wearing a mask. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic. So I turned my phone off, the video.
So real quick though, you do have that part recorded where he said you can shop here without a okay.
Yeah. And so I turned the video off, because I said, well, great, I don't have to do this. Thank you. And I turned the phone off, and I said, can I shop now? And he said, absolutely. So I go out to my car, I get my bags, come back in, do my shopping. And then, I'm shopping there in their store and their other locations after that. No problem. The problem came in January, when I happened to be in the same shopping plaza as that store, but I was in an office supply store buying some items. And I got back, I left the store, got in my car. And as I'm leaving the plaza, I look at the grocery store, and there's about 10 or 15 people, all without masks on, piling out of the store with groceries. And I'm like, oh, this is very strange. What's going on here? So I park my car. I walk over to the group of people, a couple of people I knew, and I asked what was going on. And they told me that they were doing a mask-free shopping event.
Oh, and I had seen a few of these. So this would have been in 2021?
Right. January of 2021. And so I was, just thinking, wow, this is, interesting. Although I don't actually believe in doing things like that, because the entire purpose of me doing my shopping by myself is to keep normalcy. I don't need to get a gang of people to help me shop. And I don't think it's actually good, because people who believe in what is being told to them, believe that there's a thing in the air and that it can harm them, they're going to be hostile, right? They're going to think that, oh, you're just trying to make them ill. And so my whole goal is to not bother anyone. I don't want anyone to bother me.
Just leave them alone. Yeah.
Live and let live. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't even go out of my way to walk down. If I walk towards the cap of an aisle and I saw there were 5 or 6 people, I would avoid that aisle until it was cleared out, just because I don't need to be, I don't want to bother anyone.
You're not looking for confrontation.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you're like, I would say 90% of the people that inhabit this country, we're not looking to cause problems. I just need to live my life. I need to do what I need
groceries,
to do.
You know,
Exactly. I have a family to feed. I don't know if you're married or not, Mindy, but if you are, you've got a hungry husband and he gets hangry, and you can't. Nobody wants to see a hangry husband. Believe you me, my wife has seen me when I'm hangry, and it ain't pretty. I'm just saying.
Right. No, it's true. But so my whole MO is just be yourself, do what you need to do, and don't cause a problem. So as much as I thought that it was interesting that this group went in, I wouldn't take part in something like that. It was not my thing. So this one person happened to say that he was assaulted by an employee. And I said immediately, well, I would have called 911 because, that's not cool. So he said, well, I want to do something, but I can't do that because he had PTSD from serving in the military.
Who, the individual or the employee?
Yeah, who was struck.
Oh, the individual. Okay.
Right. And so I said, well, that's a problem. But he said, I want to go in and talk to the manager and tell him what happened. But I need to go in with some people. Would you go with me? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, sure, I'll go in and just stand next to him. So that he asked a few other people. We ended up having 5 or 6 people with this gentleman. And we walk into the store and walk to the manager's office, behind the cashier stand. And the one male manager who I had seen on December 8th, the first gentleman I spoke with, he came over and he is looking at me and he's talking to me. Now I have trouble hearing because, there's a lot of sound in the store. There's reverberation and the device is hard to hear through. And I do have hearing loss. And so I told him, I said, I can't hear you. And it wasn't even me that I wanted to talk to him. It wasn't about me. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at him. He won't take his mask down. And I said, well, this gentleman next to me here said he was hit by an employee. And so another man with a mask on came up and he's arguing with the guy next to me who was assaulted. So it was the two of them. It was the employee who was accused of hitting him, arguing with the guy that he allegedly hit. And I'm just standing there. I don't say anything. And so all of a sudden, I just look at the manager in front of me and I said, aren't you the manager? And because he's allowing this argument to ensue.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not healthy. So he mumbles something and him and the employee wander away. And so I said, well, what was that? And they said, oh, he said, we're trespassed. And I'm like, what? What do you mean trespassed? We're having a conversation and, you can't do that. It's just, you can say, well, I'm not going to have this discussion. I'm leaving. Right. I'm not going to talk about this. And then once the management walks away, what are you going to do? You're going to walk out of the store. Obviously it didn't work, so that's what we do in a civil society. Yeah. So when we walk towards the door to leave, the man who is accused of hitting this mask-free shopper walks over and he pulls his mask down and he's yelling at us or saying something about that you have to wear a mask or something to that effect. And I said to him, this is a place of public accommodation and no, I don't have to wear a mask. I'm exempt because the other manager said so. And he said, well, yeah, you're exempt, but not those two. And, it's just like, what is this about? So it's just a stupid conversation. We end up leaving. Everybody leaves the store. And then the group heads over to the office supply store where I had been earlier. And I just walk over there with them just to chat, So we go over there. About 20 minutes later, an officer comes up to the group in front of the store, office supply store, and he announces his name, and then he says, this grocery store had told me that you're not wanted there. You disrupted their business, and so they don't want you there today, tomorrow, next week, next month. That's their deal, and they can do it. And I'm like looking at him like, he doesn't know who was in this store. Number one, we're not even on their property. He hasn't witnessed anything. He has no personal knowledge. And instead of coming over and saying, so why don't you tell me what happened, right? It's called an investigation.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. He just made this blanket statement as if, this is a police state, and says you can't go there. And he doesn't know who has an exemption, who doesn't, who was in the store, who did what in the store. Mm-hmm. And I'm just thinking, here's a guy acting as personal security for the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's not a lawful command. It's not a lawful order. It's not a lawful trespass notice. So I know he's not talking to me because I'm not even part of the group that was in the store. Right? So
you assume.
Pardon?
You assume he wasn't talking to you.
Well, I don't assume that he's talking to me at all because I know he's not. I know he's talking to this shopping group.
Right.
It's like telling me, you know what? It's nighttime. It's nighttime outside, and that's just how it is. And I look out my window and I'm like, what?
Right. No, I get it.
If you want to believe that, go ahead.
Right.
But I don't, because I'm not. He doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
And so I believe in the depth of my soul, he wasn't talking to me, and I'll go to my grave saying that. So he leaves, and then I live on the other side of town. I don't always go to the south end of town to do my business. So I was shopping at their other store that's closer to me.
All right. Let me just real quick. Let me just clarify a couple things here. So after this interaction with this policy enforcer, right? Because they're not, we were talking about this before we went live, but was anyone issued any kind of a ticket or a citation or? No. Okay, so everybody's dispersed.
Yep, no paperwork, no nothing, just a blanket statement. Right.
Just a blanket statement. You guys are not welcome here. Leave.
Right.
So everybody obeys the unlawful command, correct?
Well, I don't know about everybody.
But you did.
I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what other people did.
Okay, but you did.
Well, no. What I did was I was shopping in their stores, but in their other location that was near me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is important. I need to say that because I didn't avoid shopping at their store. I didn't go to that one location because of the circumstances of what my life is like. I don't know. I go back there, however, to that same store on February 11th because I happen to be on that side of town. And so I go into the store and manager, I'm shopping, and I get up to the counter and the manager comes up, another manager, and says, you've been trespassed. You can't be here. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, you were protesting. And I'm going, what? And he said, yeah, on January 16th, you were given a trespass by an officer and because you were protesting. And I said, I've never protested in this store in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. And I said,
Nor was I ever given a trespass notice.
Right. I said, I was not trespassed because I wasn't part of the group. And, I didn't do what you're alleging I did, or he alleged that I did. It never happened. So I'm like, honest. I'm filming this. It's on my camera. And I'm like, I don't know. Why are you doing this? I said, I have a medical exemption and it's already been acknowledged. And
it's been acknowledged by one of your managers.
Right. I should have said that. I didn't, but I said, this is discrimination because I'm still going back to, I'm utilizing the laws to support my situation. right? You always have to use the law. And then whatever they want to do, if they want to unlawfully engage in behavior, then they'll have to, account for that.
Yeah.
So he says, "Oh, I'm going to call the police." And I'm like, "I can't, you're going to do what?" So I just put the items in my bag. I said, "Listen, I need groceries. I haven't done anything wrong." And so I put the groceries in my bag. I lay down more than enough money to pay for the things that I have. And I put it on the counter and I leave. And he's chasing me out the door, telling me, your money's not wanted here and you've got to leave and give me back the stuff. And I'm just like, what universe is this? So,
here we are in 2023 talking about Mindy's story that happened in 2021. And we're sitting here, Erica's going like this with her face going, I cannot believe this. For those of you listening, she's got her hand on her forehead, just shaking her head. We wouldn't even have ever in a million years contemplated behavior like this from a business, one that opens their doors to the public and says, please come in and shop with us. Give us your hard-earned money. But yet it happened.
Right.
It happened to Mindy. It happened to me at a restaurant that I loved to frequent. We have not gone back to that restaurant once since then.
I had coworkers who were supposed to be men and women of science telling me how afraid they were of me because I was going around poisoning people with my bare face.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about all of the madness is like, you want to talk about conspiracy. Let's talk about conspiracy. Yeah. You guys want me to follow the science. Okay. So where is the scientific proof that just because I choose to breathe without some type of an encumbrance over my breathing apparatuses, tell me how exactly using scientific fact and data, I'm a danger to not only myself, but to anyone else. Go ahead. I'll wait. Yeah.
There's science to the contrary, actually.
That's right.
Exactly. There is more than enough scientific evidence to prove otherwise. But at the time, this was, it goes back to what Mindy stated at the very beginning of the show. This was all part of the globalized plan to push us towards things where we would willingly give up our freedoms, and people willingly did it. Yeah. Thankfully, I think it was pushed too soon, which helped to awaken the masses. Thankfully we are where we are today, but it's still, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I still see morons out there wearing these things on their faces.
So
I travel, as you guys know, I travel frequently for my job. I saw some lady on the airplane the other day. She was wearing something that looked like you would wear if you're in a commercial painting business. I mean, I wanted to say, hey, Darth Vader, do you want something to drink? That's where I was at. I mean,
I'm wondering what is influencing them. Like,
yeah,
that's always the game I try to play. Whenever I see anyone doing something peculiar, like the boys, they all mash their bangs like this in a weird way. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
There's an influencer who's responsible for all of it. So I try to track these things. I'm wondering who these people are still listening to that are telling them it's still not safe to go outside.
I kind of have a theory about that, though. I believe that people need to belong, right?
Yes.
They need to feel part of a community. And even if that community is doing something antithetical to life, they are they're trying to convey that they care, right? I care so much. I'm going to do this to myself. It's kind of like Jesus on the cross.
Yeah. No, it's the truth.
Yeah, where you just need to not
martyrdom.
Yeah, martyrdom. Absolutely. That's
go.
Martyr right there. And then we have in this country a very unhealthy relationship with the concept of death.
Yes.
We are totally afraid of death, even though it's the thing that's going to happen to all of us.
Been happening ever since human beings have been on this planet.
That's right.
But it's
orchestrated.
orchestrated.
It happens to trees and every other life form.
Yeah. It's orchestrated to make you fear it so that you run to the DOC, TORS, and all that stuff.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know, we all see who's in control now, and it's the same controllers, but they're all under different corporations. So.
Absolutely. But they all share in each other's.
Right.
So true. Okay, so let's just get caught up real quick.
Yeah.
So you've been to a couple stores. Police officer comes, says you guys have all been trespassed, leave. No paperwork is given to anyone. No citations are issued. Just a verbal from some dude wearing a badge and a gun. You go to another store and you got some monkey who's chasing you out the door because you've been trespassed, but you're willing to pay for the goods, which you did.
Well,
and
actually,
he's running after you now when you're no longer within the store, correct?
Well, so I go to the other stores and I'm never bothered. I return to the store and the other side of town, and that's when the guy chases me out.
Okay. So the other stores that are closer to your home, they don't bother you.
No, never
it's
had a
just
problem.
The one where this situation occurred. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
And it matters that I've gone to the other stores because I'm going to be told later that I was banned, trespassed from all the stores for life. For life.
For life. Wow.
Yeah.
Aren't you lucky?
I know, right? I'm like, for life? so now I have to go back to that same store in the other side of town with a notice of discrimination, because I'm going to do it again, right? I'm going to repeat what I did the first time because that worked.
Okay.
So go back.
You've got your notice of discrimination, and I do remember that notice that Peggy Hall put out. So by the way, just for some full disclosure, Peggy Hall puts out some good stuff. I don't love her paywall. Let me put it that way. I don't love that she charges people. She was charging people back at the time. Now, if you were willing to pay it, then God bless you. But I have never, as Justice and Erica can attest to, I have never once told anyone, you've got to pay me to help you. I believe that the fate of our republic is at stake, and it's too important to charge for. So that's why that's the approach I have chosen. But I'm not saying that what Peggy was doing was wrong. Now, you ask some other people like Alphonse, I mean, he'll just go into a profanity-laced tirade over it, but that's just who he is as an Eastern Pennsylvanian. So,
well, to Alphonse has doesn't need a job, and you have a job, and if Peggy lost her job, that's where it goes. If you can take your knowledge but you still have to pay your bills,
exactly,
I'm okay with it. But there's some people out there, we clearly know there's people out there doing it just to make a buck, because that's the way it works.
And that's the unfortunate thing, because we've caught those. Like Alphonse has caught that guy. I caught someone in our group trying to charge someone a couple $1,000s, and I'm like, oh no, who the heck are you? This is not happening. This is not going to fly. But again, I just want people to know, please don't get me wrong. I've had people question, because as you guys know, I've had Kirk Pendergrass on before. Kirk says a lot of controversial things, but what I like about Kirk is that he's very grounded in the Constitution and the natural law. So that's why I've had him on. But again, people, do your own due diligence. Please don't take what we say here as gospel truth. Please just go, oh, well, I heard James the Patriot say this, so it's got to be true. I got to do that. Guys, you have a freaking brain in your head. Use it, please.
Mm-hmm.
Will you?
Yeah.
I mean,
if it's someone's only source of income, I get it, because now they're giving of themselves to people and they have to make money. But if they have a job, major doctor or whatever it is, and they've got an income, and they love our country and they love humanity, there's no reason. In my opinion, that's just my opinion too.
The purpose of what I do and what we do here at the Justice Revolution is we want to give you information, give you things that we have done personally, that we have tried, and then you can decide, utilizing your own due diligence, whether or not it's going to work for you. So for those of you who are watching, you can see we have our legal disclaimer flashing. None of these ideas are to be construed as legal advice. We're not giving legal advice. If you think you need legal advice, then you want to go shell out the money to some lawyer, be my guest. But that's not what we do here. So the purpose of this is I just want to bring to the forefront these stories, these things that have happened, like to Mindy, where she was trespassed, quote unquote, and we're going to get to that here in a second. And then what she's done. So I just wanted to clear that, make sure everybody's clear on that. So So Mindy, you went back to that original store,
Mm-hmm.
gave them the notice of discrimination. Now, was this before or after the guy chased you out of the store?
This is after. So a week
Okay.
after that chasing out of the store, I go back with the notice of discrimination, and I brought my friend with me. She needed to run errands and didn't have a car, so she just happened to be with me for the ride. But
Okay.
we go in together into the store, and I had the notice in my hand, and I go up to the gentleman the main store manager who told me that I didn't have to wear a mask in the store. And I
Okay.
walk up to him, thinking it's going to be a nice exchange.
A cordial.
And immediately he says, "You can't be here. You need to leave the store. You've been trespassed." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I'm honestly, I said to him, I need to talk to you, because he wasn't there. He didn't see anything that happened. He's taking the word of the other managers. And so I said to him, "I don't understand why you're saying this, because I've never done anything, to warrant being banned from the store." And he said, the officer gave you the notice, and you were disrupting business." And I said, "I never have disrupted you. I don't know what you're, I'm just going off on this." And he says, you were trespassed for disorderly conduct. This is interesting,
Okay.
which disrupted business. And I'm like, "What is the disorderly conduct?" And he said, "Not wearing a mask." And I'm going, "Oh my God." If I go and look at the statute in Oregon for disorderly conduct,
It doesn't say that anywhere.
there's different levels of disorderly conduct. Nowhere in the statute does it say not wearing a mask or not following store policy, because he said not wearing a mask, which is store policy. And it's like he has amnesia. He didn't remember telling me that I didn't have to wear a mask. And I said to him, I'm like, "No, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not, I never disrupted business." He calls his store loss prevention person, who comes in next, and then is threatening me, telling me I have X amount of time to get out of the store, or he's going to handcuff me. I'm like, I'm in such disbelief. And I when I don't understand something, I'm like a deer caught in the headlights. You know what I mean? I'm trying to understand,
Process it.
Yeah. And so what some people think is disobeying, right? Like, she didn't leave the store. She disobeyed. She refused to leave, is my way of going, I can't believe what he just said.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes me some time to process this kind of insanity. And I repeated it back. I said, "You're going to handcuff me for for not leaving the store?" And then I'm thinking, well, if you want someone to leave, you're not going to hold them in custody.
Right.
It's the opposite.
What was his job position?
Loss prevention manager.
What does that mean?
That means if you're stealing,
shoplifting,
he's going to stop you from stealing.
And he had handcuffs with him?
He went into his office to get the handcuffs. And so the doors open, and I video him going and grabbing handcuffs.
Wow.
And he comes out, and then he warns me again. He said, "I'm going to put these on you and detain you and hand you over to the police." And then the judge is going to have. And
Are you suing him personally?
Well, the lawsuit is against the store, the managers who violated my rights, and then the loss prevention, because after he threatened me, I'm looking at the manager who was telling the nice guy, and the other guy, the loss prevention, grabs my right wrist, pulls it behind my back, and throws a cuff on me. And I'm like rotating to hand my phone to my friend. And I said, "Oh my God, here." And I hand her my phone, and I want her to, continue filming. And I'm screaming because the guy tightened the handcuff. And now it feels like it's breaking my wrist. And I'm screaming, going, "What are you doing? Take it off." And I fall to the ground because he's trying to get my other wrist. And I fall to the ground and I'm screaming that I'm in pain, take it off. And what are you doing? And so,
wow.
It takes him about 40 seconds to find the key to take it off my wrist. But I'm shaking, I'm crying, I'm in pain. I'm fearing because, this man is huge, and I just can't believe that he has assaulted me.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. So
that's a crime is hurting someone, right? So that's where the crime was committed.
Right.
It was. Right. And that's what I'm saying is heaven forbid anything like this ever happen again. But if those of you who are listening and watching find yourself in a situation like this, and you have a friend with you, you need to tell them, call 911 right now.
And I did that.
So you did call 911.
Yeah, my friend called 911.
Okay.
However, they put her on hold. Because the other manager called the police before she did. And now they have two, conflicting parties here, right, at the same place. And my friend is having a hard time, getting somebody to take the call. And
do they eventually take her call?
They stopped at some point. She was saying, you could hear her say hello, and then she just hung up the phone because they weren't there for her. They were there for the store. That was what.
Okay, all right. So you've also got a claim against the county dispatch as well.
No, I don't. This is a city municipality that we called, to respond because it's city limits.
Okay, so I guess it depends on where the 911 call is taken.
Yeah,
whether it's taken at the local PD dispatch, or if it's if that's the case, then you also have a claim against the city because the PD is an organization of the city.
Right.
And they have a duty and an obligation to answer that call. They don't know what the situation is.
Right.
You called to file a complaint as a victim. They chose to ignore that. That's arbitrary discrimination.
Yes.
You've got a claim against the city as well.
Well, yeah, they're on the list, but you can only fight so many battles.
I know. So many people to sue, so little time to do it.
Yeah, right. But so the police did come. Now I'm sitting with my back up against the wall. In fact, when my friend was filming, there was nobody in the store came over and intervened. Nobody even winked an eye when I'm have the handcuff and I'm in pain, screaming, take it off. And it's I've heard about this. This is kind of like the Nazi Germany where the Jews are being rounded up and the good Germans are just going about their business and they don't see what's happening. And, just mind your own business. So, no, business was not even disrupted when that was happening because, the cashiers were doing their thing and people were shopping and
they were just thinking that this is business as usual, which it was not. No, it was not. So
I'm on the floor waiting and the cops come.
Okay.
And two officers walk in past me and they're talking to the store manager and the loss prevention person. And they're taking their story. And then they walk over to me and my wrist is, red, very bruised in pain. And I've got a cut on my hand. So
you have obvious signs of assault.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And the officer says, do you need medical attention? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, well, can you get up? And and I got up. Managed to get up and he said, well, let's walk out of the store. So I'm walking out with him and we're having he's asking me what happened. And he said, do you see the sign behind you? And I look back there and I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, it says, you have to wear a mask. And I'm like, what?
Oh,
I said,
Lord, he's part of it.
He's acting as store employee, right? He's security. And he's saying they told you to wear a mask and it's their policy. And I said, no. I said, it's, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and there's anti-discrimination laws that are in effect. And no, I don't have to do that. And they told me I didn't have to. So it just kind of went on like that. And then he said, well, you were given a notice of trespass. And I said, no, I wasn't. And I said, there's no paperwork. It wasn't even me. I wasn't in the store doing whatever they said that I was doing. And so then I mentioned, you can't arrest someone for not wearing a mask. And he said, no, but I can arrest you for trespass. I'm like, what? So he arrested me and took me to jail.
All right. So can we just talk about that for a second? So he arrested you and took you to jail for trespassing. That's what he said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about trespass.
And for those of you who are listening, Erica and I have mouths wide open.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
In order to be arrested for trespass, you must have the intent to trespass.
Wow.
Right.
So I am in my trusty source here in American Jurisprudence, volume 2D. For those of you who know, I'm always in here. Also, there's a document that's, I believe it's in our Telegram group. I know it's in Alphonse's group, and it's titled Trespass. And he's taken some things here from each of these. But this is just something that I find is interesting. Okay, and I just wanted to interject here real quick because this is key. Intent required for trespass generally. Generally, trespass consists of an intentional invasion of the property of another. The trespass must be intentional in the sense of an act voluntarily done or that the person intended the intrusion, except where the intrusion results from reckless or negligent conduct or abnormally dangerous activities. While civil trespass is an intentional tort, intentional trespass does not require proof of specific intent. The controlling issue is the intent to complete the physical act, and liability for trespass exists whether or not the trespass was done in good faith and with reasonable care. It is not necessary that the trespasser intend to invade the property, commit a trespass, or even know that the act will constitute one, as liability for trespass requires only an intent to do the act that itself constitutes or inevitably causes the intrusion. Is any of this making sense?
Mm-hmm.
You must have had the intent to trespass. Well, here's my question. If the store has a sign that says open, and if you can walk up to the store and the door's open, and you can walk in, how do you intentionally trespass?
Right.
That's my question. You guys have an answer for me?
Their claim, in my opinion, is that she was notified. So they're just going on what they were told. But she's got no proof of being trespassed. She was guilty by association with the other group, and she was never served with a trespass. So you have no proof of it, and they're claiming it. And
so the city assistant prosecutor claims that, and good luck trying to find a procedure for the EPD or for the police department. It's not there. There's no procedure for that, for how to properly trespass someone. However, they're claiming that you don't have to have a written document, that a body cam, right? The video on the police officer is enough to prove notice was given. And that's what the city relied on to claim that there was notice.
Because you were standing there that day, you were guilty by association.
That's it. It's really mistaken identity. Mm-hmm. And I did bring that up at the arraignment, that it's a case of mistaken identity. And the judge said, oh, well, that'll have to be dealt with later. No, yes, it needs to be dealt with now.
After we convict you, we'll deal
right. Yeah. So, but yeah, I was taken to jail. and $280 bail. I've never been arrested, convicted of a crime or anything. This is all like insane. I was actually, I've been handcuffed before because I've done some political activism things. But it was all First Amendment activity, and it's different. So this is like crazy because I managed. I'm stepping ahead of myself, but I have witnessed. I've seen the body cam of the arresting officer, and when I watched him talking with the managers before he approached me, he solicited a trespass. He said to them, "Oh, well, she was blocking the walkway." Now that's what he said to them as his reason why he could now arrest me.
Yeah, that's called entrapment.
Yeah, entrapment, right. So that was what gave him his probable cause.
Even so he gave himself his own probable cause. Even better. This is just so juicy.
Yeah. Even though he said to me that the store can make any policy they want and you didn't wear a mask. So on the affidavit of probable cause, he said during the time of this thing, right, the event, the store's policy was to wear a mask, and she didn't follow the rule. This is the affidavit of probable cause, which the city prosecutor picked up and ran with to prosecute me. I'm like, this is, Banana Republic stuff.
Yeah.
And it absolutely
like that
is.
Experiment where they 66% of people would keep pushing the button to shock you when the doctor tells you to. Like these are the people, these are the 66%ers who were doing this.
That's right.
So because in interest of time, we're a little over an hour. So after all of this dog and pony show happened, you go to court, and again, I don't know what your education level was of how to fight this stuff, but you had mentioned in the Telegram group that you had filed a notice challenging jurisdiction.
Yeah, I went through quite a bit of the. I just found Alphonse.
Good.
Probably a month or two after I was embroiled in this. So this would have been April or May. I discovered his talks, and I started listening and trying to understand jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is not easy to understand if you're really like in a mess and you're trying to get out. And I appreciate what he offers. But he just really, at the time, the information wasn't there that was, helping me to understand it. So I took 2 court-appointed liars.
Okay.
And I fired the first one immediately because she didn't know discrimination law. And she said to me, "Well, when they told you to leave, you should have left." And I'm like, this is the person, the court-appointed attorney, who's going to save me and defend me.
No, they don't give a rat's rear end about you.
Right. And I wasn't aware of. I didn't understand the corpus juris secundum, what it means to have a court or a lawyer, that you are actually a ward of the court.
Yeah.
And you're admitting you're an imbecile.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, they can do whatever they want because their first client is the court.
Yep.
And the second.
Their allegiance is the Bar Association.
Right. And the second is the public. And the third is you. So so after the second court-appointed attorney that I fired, I had a couple of people help me write a motion to dismiss. And I really could kick myself for not just standing on that. I should have just left that alone and let it sit there. But they pulled a fast one on me, and they appointed this gal who was like saying all the right things, right? It was kind of like a love affair. Oh, we have a case and I can't wait for this to go to a jury and you're going to win. And And, you know, so I kind of believed what she said. I removed the motion to dismiss like an idiot.
So you withdrew the motion to dismiss?
Yep. Don't ever do that. Always keep that in there and just go with it.
Make sure they rule on it one way or another. Make sure they rule on it. Yes.
Right. So I believe this woman. And then after 2 or 3 months, she ended up after one of the pretrial hearings saying, you know, this judge really understands your position. And I think you ought to have a bench trial. And I'm like, oh, man. I was like, okay, sister.
Not a good idea.
No, this is over. No. And then I started challenging jurisdiction in a serious way.
Good.
In court. So the actual case, there were 2 attempted trials, jury trials. The first one was nixed before the voir dire. So there was
voir dire.
Yeah, right. It's a hard one to say. So that was nixed, and then the second attempted trial was January of 2022, and I challenged jurisdiction in the courtroom. She wanted to force a mask on me, and I said, no, I'm not doing it. And so I was thrown out of the court by a group of police. They took me into an empty courtroom, and they threw another court-appointed attorney on me, which I had him withdrawn. And so she left him in she said, he's going to be counsel, right? If you have problems. And I said, no, he should not even show up. I object, and he shouldn't even be there because he's been withdrawn. He's not my attorney. And so she kept him there because what she did was she threw me out of the court, put him at the table, and tried to run the trial.
So was your objection on the record?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I said, I object. I said, I'm challenging jurisdiction, and we can't move forward until the challenge has been met. And she said, well, no, that's not true. And, and moved me
that's
out.
on the record?
Yes. Yeah.
Even better.
Well, except here's the problem is municipal courts are not under the Oregon judiciary.
They're not under any judiciary.
Right.
Just so people are clear.
Right.
They're an administrative court.
Exactly. But you can't actually do anything, right? You can't address it because the only thing you can do is you can take your wrongful conviction, if that happens, and go up to the circuit court and appeal it at the circuit court.
So it's called an appeal for a trial de novo.
Right.
Where you basically get a brand new trial. It's as if the first one never happened. So it's like, well, why are we going through this song and dance to begin with?
Right. And, because I challenged jurisdiction, I'm not going to give that up. And I'm not going to then go with an appeal because I'm granting jurisdiction. So
but even still, let me just clarify something real quick, Mindy, just for your clarification and also for everybody else who's listening. There are only 2 types of jurisdiction that you can expressly waive: personal jurisdiction, and the actual physical of where you are jurisdiction. You cannot, under any circumstances, waive or grant subject matter jurisdiction. So, as we've talked about before many times, subject matter jurisdiction requires a complaining witness, someone who has standing to file the claim against you, whether it's criminal or civil. So, in your case where you were trespassed, there had to have been someone who said, hey, because she trespassed, she caused me harm or monetary damages or any other things like that. That is what is required. A probable cause statement from a policy officer will not suffice. Now, in an administrative court, they'll take it all day long. So in these municipal courts that you were in, they'll take it all day long. But when you did the right thing by standing on your ground and saying, no, I'm challenging the jurisdiction of this court to even, I shouldn't even be here. This court has no authority to even bring me in here as one of the people, as one of the sovereign people of the state of Oregon. You guys have no authority to bring me in here. Now, they're going to go, oh, great, this is a sovereign citizen crap. So let's throw her in this other courtroom here, and we're going to hold a trial, and we're going to find her guilty. Yeah, you want to talk about all the due process rights violations that court just committed? Right. So what can be done? So let's finish out. Where are you now with this municipal court? Where do you stand?
Well, so they ran. So they called the second attempted trial. They called that a mistrial. Now, I wasn't even privy to that. I never even knew that they had done that.
Oh my gosh!
Because they had me arrested in the courthouse for that hearing.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, it was supposed to be by Zoom, and I refused to do Zoom, and so I was arrested in the courthouse for not wearing a mask. And so now the state of Oregon picked up that the charge. They said that I physically assaulted the security guard to get through the gate without a mask on.
Really?
And yeah. So I was thrown down to the ground, handcuffed by 2 police officers. An elderly lady, she also got arrested because she came in with me. And so anyways, the state of Oregon was trying to prosecute me. Now, they never sent me the paperwork of what my charges were, but they were changed from assault and battery to disorderly conduct and trespass 2. Now, very quickly, I ended up challenging jurisdiction at arraignment, and I did it right. And they tried to continue the prosecution. And every time they contacted me, I said, now, arraignment was messed up. The judge failed to get jurisdiction over me, so we can't move forward. By August of that year, so I was arrested.
Last year?
2022, yeah. I was arrested again, a second time in the courthouse on February 16th, 2022. By August, I got a notice in the mail that the district attorney was dismissing the case. She said they were dismissing the case due to lack of funds.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, that is not why they dismissed that case. I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
So they watched their video. That's what happened. They looked at the video. They know that you could get, and they went. Oh.
They messed up on arraignment. You can't move forward after that.
Yeah, no, and they absolutely can't. And this is why you stand your ground in arraignment, people.
Yes.
You know, you're going to go into these stupid municipal courts, or here in Utah, they're called justice courts, like as Justice will know. I call them injustice courts because there's no justice being done there. Mm-mm. But if you walk in there and say, Your Honor, I'm sorry, I can't enter a plea because I'm challenging this court's jurisdiction. I'm challenging subject matter jurisdiction. I'm requiring, and this court is required, and it's on the record, that the moving party must assert and prove up that they have subject matter jurisdiction in this matter. There's nothing in the record to reflect that case, and I cannot and I will not move forward until that's being done. Now, you're going to get judges who go, well, that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to enter a plea. You can enter guilty, not guilty, or no contest. And then we'll set this stuff and say, Your Honor, respectfully, thank you for letting me know. However, I have a right to assert that this court has jurisdiction over this matter. Review of the record shows it does not. So stand on your ground, people. Stand on your ground. Good for you. So the state DA dismissed the case. So the case is dismissed?
Yes.
Perfect. You've got a malicious prosecution lawsuit right there.
Well, no, because again, under malicious prosecution, you have to have there has to be an innocent verdict, or
no, there does not. No, there does not. No, there does not. That is a misconception where people feel that in order to have a malicious prosecution, you have to have a verdict in the actual trial where it comes back. No, the case must terminate favorably for you. What does that mean? It means, the one who brought the charges dismissed the charges because they said they had no case. They said they didn't have any money. But you and I both know that's not the reason why. So you absolutely have a malicious prosecution case there. You also have false arrest claims against every single one of those jokers in the courthouse, false imprisonment claims,
Abuse,
yep, battery, assault, actually attempted assault with a deadly weapon, aggravated assault because they're all wearing guns. Those are all major felonies. And if you assert these claims in a civil suit and invoke your power to have the court convene a grand jury, they're going to crap their pants. So, so that's good that you got that done. Now, I did notice you were sending me stuff. You did file suit against the store and the original people. I'm curious to know, why did you choose to file suit in an Oregon court? I'm just curious.
I took the jurisdictionary course.
Okay.
How to win in court without a lawyer.
Good. Everybody must do that.
Yeah. Well, it's very helpful in a lot of ways. Now, I did find that it was not helpful when trying to understand subpoena, how to subpoena, and all that. There's problems with trying to figure out how to do. It's a Tecus Dusum or something like that.
To course Dusum, I think is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's to get the like evidence, like phone evidence.
Yeah.
So that's a problem, and it's good. It's been very helpful. However, I'm using the circuit court because, as you pointed out, the federal court, Oregon District Court, is very slow. I do have the lawsuit against the city in that court. And yeah, it's the city has filed a motion to dismiss, and I'm now sitting in purgatory.
Yeah.
Waiting for something to happen. So I decided the district court is the way to go so that it can move through the process, within a year or so. That's the goal.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I mean, it's so hit or miss. I mean, unfortunately too, for you, Mindy, you're in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is a very liberal circuit court of appeals. However, I say this tongue in cheek. However, the justices on the courts of appeal there, here it is right here, by the way, it's Duces Tucum.
Yes.
Duces Tucum. Thanks. Yes, M. However, there were some interesting rulings that came up from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, especially surrounding all this madness that we've dealt with over the last 2 or 3 years. So don't feel like all is lost. Now, here's the thing, like I mentioned before, were we talking about this on the air or off? I can't remember where we're saying that these federal courts just sit on things. If they sit on a motion for 6, 7, 8 months and they haven't issued a ruling on it, you can do everything you can, file a request to submit for a decision, file 2 or 3 of them, get it onto the record. And then if you absolutely have to, you can seek a writ of mandamus. That is an extraordinary situation. It's like, hey, this is a case of high importance. This is a case of the public welfare will benefit from the outcome of this case. We need this court of appeals to issue a ruling to this lower court telling them basically to do their freaking jobs. So that's really what it is. Yeah. So you did file against the city in federal district court.
Yes. And it's sitting.
And what causes of action did you file against them?
It's a 1983 case, and my causes of action claim of relief is what we use here.
Same thing.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what, but I did not use malicious prosecution because I researched it, but they violated my First Amendment right by throwing me out of the courtroom without over the mask. There's a number. I probably have 4 causes of action in that one. But the grocery store one is an interesting statute that I'm using. It's called calling the police with intent to harm.
And that's specific to Oregon, right?
Right. It's basically an anti-discrimination or a violation of your First Amendment right. If somebody calls the police to have you arrested without a real cause of action to do so, then you can file this civil case.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can be your constitutional right. So either the U.S. Constitution or your state constitution. It can be discrimination.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's a really good. I believe it's a very good statute on the books.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm claiming disability because I can't wear a mask for my medical obvious reasons, and then for my religious beliefs because I do believe that covering your face is shaming your God. So those are that's my major claim for relief. But I'm also using assault, battery and assault, and negligence.
Okay.
And then another discrimination. That's a claim in of itself. However, that only has a 1-year statute of limitation, and it's been 2 years. So they're gonna kick that one out.
Okay, and that's what your objection was filed on, wasn't it? Right, that you sent to me. Okay, I mean that's fine. I mean you got, from my understanding, you got a ruling where they granted it in part and dismissed their motion in part, which is good.
Yeah, but
so you're moving in there.
They kicked out the first one. The
one that doesn't make sense.
the one that I need is the one that they kicked, and so with the calling the police with intent to harm. So I need to challenge that one, and I don't know how.
So this is what you do: is you file an objection, you file a motion to reconsider, and you give all of the reasons why the judge should reconsider. Because what that does is that gives you an appealable issue. By filing a motion to reconsider, you say, "Hey, Your Honor, your arguments are well taken," and butter these guys up. Your arguments are well taken. However, in the interest and fairness of justice, I believe this statute applies, and this is why. And give all those reasons why. Give all the facts behind it. You were also saying something about they were not allowing you to enter your cell phone video as evidence.
That's
what
right.
was their basis behind that?
Oh, the defense claimed that there was no authentication of the video. Now, here's the problem. Yeah, you can say that when you're going before a trial, but this is pretrial hearings, and so you only need prima facie showing that that what you're saying actually happened, right? So your fact is based on some evidence. Now, whether it's authenticated or not shouldn't have to happen at this level.
Okay.
So they haven't even answered the complaint.
So they haven't even answered the complaint, and they're already objecting to your. Yeah, you're correct. You should say, you should absolutely say, hey, by the way, their objection to this evidence is premature. This is not the time or the place to object on this. However, because I assume that you're going to, in the discovery phase is when you would be giving them all of your, hey, this is what I've got. I want what you've got. It's just like Dr. Graves says, is discovery is where lawsuits go to die. Right. So have you reviewed the rules of evidence there in Oregon?
Not completely. I have done some research on it, specific to what I'm trying to admit. But he filed a motion to strike. It's a special motion to strike. It's called anti-SLAPP. Yeah. Now, do you know about the anti-SLAPP suits? Do you know what those are?
You're going to refresh my memory because I don't have a lot of knowledge on the anti-SLAPP stuff.
So if you file a SLAPP suit, you're filing against someone who made some false statements about you. It's kind of a libel, defamation. Gotcha. Or say I'm a chemical company, and there are people protesting in front of my factory, and so they're causing, a negative image on my business, and so it's basically to stop a lawsuit by what may be a wrongdoer, might be somebody who's innocent, being labeled. However, an anti-SLAPP suit is what the other party is saying is that I denied them their right to free speech. Now, when I went into the grocery store and told them that I couldn't wear a mask because of my disability, I wasn't telling them that they couldn't impose that rule on everybody else.
Exactly.
I didn't say, well, you got to take it down. No, I said, I'm using the first, my Americans with Disability Act. I'm using the Civil Rights Act. And, so when they filed that, that motion against me, my response was that I was simply utilizing the statutes that were in place and not suspended by our legislature. Now, Oregon Constitution Section 22 states that the legislature can suspend any laws. They didn't do that during the pandemic. So I had all full force and effect of these statutes behind me, and the store didn't complain then, but now they're saying that I violated their free speech rights.
Well, okay, there's some problems with this, all right? So let's just talk about this. So anytime somebody wants to strike statements that concern your evidence, so I'm assuming they're wanting to strike the statements from your suit pertaining to where I took cell phone video of the matter, and they're saying, well, that's libeling or that's libelous or whatever. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to have to look at the rules of evidence code. So I just did a quick search. I said Oregon rules of evidence, and it brought up Oregon revised statutes, and this is the evidence code. So they actually have it codified into Oregon statutes, the rules of evidence, which is nice. And the actual rules themselves coincide with the federal rules of evidence, which is perfect. So when you look at, and if you're taking notes or if you have something to write down with Mindy, I'll just tell you this right now. It's ORS, Oregon Revised Statutes 40.505. And it's Rule 901, requirement of authentication or identification. So this is what it says. Number 1, the requirement of authentication or identification as a condition precedent to admissibility is satisfied by evidence sufficient to support a finding that the matter in question is what its proponent claims. What does that mean? Well, guess what? There's notes of decision in here. And in 2019, the Oregon Courts of Appeals held that where a victim had video recordings of physical altercation with defendant and victim testified at pretrial hearing regarding the authenticity of the recording, testimony and recording were sufficient to evidence to authenticate recordings under this section. So basically what they're saying is, if you come into court and say, I have video evidence that backs up what I'm saying, and I am swearing under God's laws that this is the truth, it has to be admitted as evidence.
Great. That's a great one. Thank you.
So let's see if I can find, I'll actually clip this, and I'll just send this to you in Telegram so you have right where I was looking.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. So that's where, there you go. It's in Telegram. So that's where it's important to know these things. And so when you're replying back to this judge who threw out that, hey, you can't bring this evidence in here, say, whoa, hold on there, Mr. Judge. Oregon Court of Appeals stated otherwise.
Right.
But here's the thing, is you need to make this judge aware of it. Say, hey, Judge, this I believe your ruling is an error, and here's why. Court of Appeals stated this. I'm swearing to the authenticity of this video recording under the penalty of perjury, mind you. Right. So the court has no choice. They must admit my cell phone video as evidence. And if he still says, nope, we're throwing it out, okay, now you have an appealable issue.
Right. I actually did, in our motions hearing, I stated that when she rejected taking the video or watching it, I said, I need to make an offer of proof. And she said, well, that's not necessary. And I said, yes, it is. I need to make an offer of proof. I need this on the record for an appeals, process.
Good.
So I said exactly what was on the video. So even though in my complaint, the very first item where I discuss where this all started on December 8th, when the manager told me I didn't have to wear a mask, it's written right there in my complaint. And so the judge is ignoring the actual wording in the complaint where I state that the manager told me that I didn't have to wear a mask. So there's something going on here where they're on purpose ignoring what's happening, right? They don't want to address that because, and I keep stating that a store policy cannot usurp established law. So they have a policy where you can't film in the store. Well, I even heard one of the officers tell the managers that that's not an arrestable offense. Well, then neither is wearing a mask.
Yeah. All of these things, it's crucial that you get this stuff on the record. So, wow. So much, guys, here. What do you guys think? Justice, Erica, what do you guys think?
I think you've got, just as we've talked about, if you stick to it, you win, right? You don't quit. And it seems like you're weeding stuff out and it's getting closer and closer. And the point you just made up is a great point because, no, that certainly isn't, filming is not a law, neither is wearing a mask or using a medical device, because now what you can tack onto it, in my opinion, because it is a medical device, are they practicing medicine without a license?
Right.
Because right. I mean, and that's what Erica can speak to.
Well, not only that, and Erica was talking, she'll touch on this a little bit as well, but the masks were approved experimental devices. So they were approved under 21 USC 360 BBB. You have a right to refuse that. See, they all want to forget about that. They all want you just to kick that to the side. I want to bring something up real quick here. I found an interesting lawsuit. Let me see who it was filed by.
So, James, when you whittle it down and get closer and closer to the actual person that violated you, that's a good claim, though, isn't it? Because the person asking you to put something on your face is practicing medicine without a license.
Exactly. It absolutely is.
That's what they never bothered me again in Whole Foods when the person's asking me to take my temperature. I said, do you have a medical degree? They said, no. I said, so you're practicing medicine without a license.
Yeah.
Let me go talk to the manager. That was the end of that. Probably, they took all those things out of there and never asked people to do their temperatures again.
Yeah. Erica, this is going to be your carbon copy suit.
Oh, is it?
Look what we have here. Jennifer Bridges et al. Versus the Methodist Hospital and the Houston Methodist, the Woodlands Hospital. My guess is she was either a patient there or an employee. I didn't go through all of this here. Voting board of directors. Yeah, this is right up your alley, girlfriend. This is what you've been waiting for. So they harp on 21 USC 360 BBB. Okay. That is a federal law where it's codified in federal law that you have the right to refuse experimental treatments. All of the, I don't know what we can call them, all of the pokes are experimental. You have a right to refuse those. And from my understanding, that's what the nature of this case right here was based on. But so were all of the masks. They're experimental. You have a right to refuse them. Nobody gave you that option. Then number one, they didn't give you informed consent, and they didn't give you the option to refuse it. So this is a 126-page lawsuit. That's really long. But what I found interesting in this was two things. Was this right here, the 21 USC 360 BBB. So let's go down to their page 47. Oops, I just skipped right past it. Let's look at that real quick, and then we're going to look at the cause of action that they're moving under because it's actually really quite interesting. So here it is, 21 USC 360 BBB. Congress expressly prohibits any manufacturer from introducing into commerce a drug, biologic, or medical device, which the masks were labeled as a medical device, not licensed by the FDA for general commercial marketing to ensure the legal obligations of the United States government are met. Investigational drugs, biologics, and devices are strictly controlled by Congress. Only authorized persons may access, distribute, and administer them. Numerous conditions must be met before the legal administration of products authorized pursuant to this section can occur. The overriding requirement, irrespective of the granted expanded access protocol, is that the individual must give their legally effective informed consent, whether the consent is under written or verbal conditions. Do we need to read that again, Erica?
Nope, got it.
You got it?
I gave my expressed verbal non-consent and they fired me. So
they fired you as a result. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it says here, Congress requires the HHS Secretary, Health and Human Services Secretary, to appropriate conditions designed to ensure that individuals to whom the product is administered are informed of, there's 4 different things: the significant known and potential benefits and risks, the option to accept or refuse, the consequences, if any, of refusing administration of the product, and the alternatives to the product that are available, and of their benefits and risks. So here's my question to both Mindy and Erica. Were you guys given any of those options?
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay, there you go.
Well, they did tell me they would fire me if I didn't. I don't think that counts as a consequences.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go down here to their cause of action, which is on page 117. I was looking at this while we were talking earlier, where they're moving under this statute. And it's very interesting. So what they did is they took Title 42, 1983, and they coupled it together with this law, this 21 360 BBB. Sorry, I'm getting there. Here it is. Okay. Subjected to investigational drug use. I'm not going to read this out loud because, we know why. So it says the CDC poking program provider agreement and the implementing statutes and regulations found at 45 CFR, the Belmont Report 21 USC, and Article 7 of the ICCPR Treaty, and the 14th Amendment clearly and unambiguously create rights enforceable pursuant to 42 USC 1983. A statement that participation is voluntary, refusal to participate will involve no penalty or loss of benefits to which the subject is otherwise entitled, and the subject may discontinue participation at any time without penalty or loss of benefits to which the subject is otherwise entitled.
I disagree. That doesn't happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Erica, I'm going to drop this suit to you through Telegram. This is
Okay.
what you've been waiting for.
Yeah.
That's why I saved this. When I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we've been waiting for. So you guys, the point that we're getting at here is you have rights that God has given you, and man in their stupidity has decided to codify those rights in other laws, and that's okay because we use that to our advantage, which is what Mindy is doing. But there are other things that you can do. So I wanted to go over these things so that you guys know that when you were like for me, all right, I wasn't where I am today back in 2020, but I knew, and like Mindy just said earlier in the show, I knew something just doesn't make sense with all of this, guys. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist here, but I know that a virus is pretty freaking small, and you think that by putting this over my breathing apparatus is going to stop me from A, catching it, or B, spreading it? That just doesn't make sense to me.
It says it on the box.
That's
It even
right.
says it on the box.
Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with mitigating the spread of this alleged virus.
I have a theory, James. I'm
Oh,
just
boy.
sitting here thinking about what this whole thing did to both Mindy and myself. We're both very delightful people. We're rational, loving, kind human beings who think about stuff. But they're pinning you to the ground 3 different times, arresting you while you're screaming and you're handcuffed. And I'm in a hospital, bucking the system and being like, I don't think so. Like, they're taking perfectly normal, good, law-abiding, peace-loving citizens and backing us into a corner.
Yep.
And there are some of us who are like, you know what? This isn't right. And I'm going to find out why it's not right. And I'm going to come after you for it. And you're going to pay for it. You know, that's what's happening. And for everyone who is standing up and like, I'm just sitting here thinking, why do you need to say I'm exempt because I'm being discriminated? I don't have a medical issue. They gave me that, you know, that out. If I could find a medical reason, okay, I breathe through this place. That's my medical reason.
Yeah.
And I don't want to wear it. That's my other reason.
Well,
Makes me feel bad. That should be enough. Like we should be able to just say those sorts of things in this world, but
can I say that
make us go crazy?
That really everyone has this medical exemption. It is called breathing fully. And so
unobstructed.
I didn't show any document. I didn't show or say what doctor and, you know, here's my note, because you don't have to. And it's an invasion of your medical privacy rights. So, you know, the manager didn't stop me. He said, oh, okay. Yeah.
You guys, here's the thing. We all have the right to the dictates of our conscience. What does that mean? That means we have the right to think the way we want to think. We have a right to we have a right to do what we want to do for our own bodies the way that we feel is best. And no one has any authority to tell us otherwise. I don't care who you are.
Well, that's common law. That's natural law.
That's God's natural law. Exactly. And that reigns supreme over everything. Okay. We can get lost in the weeds of statute this and code of federal regulation this and everything else like that. You know, Diesel brings up this point here. It's my understanding that he says Channel 45. It's actually commercial federal regulation 45 is not positive law. You're not wrong. But my point is we can get lost in those weeds all day long. And these liars, they love to bring you back to that playground because that's all they know. You go up against one of these liars on a constitutional principle, on one of God's laws, and they're going to look at you like deer in the headlights because they can't do it. They don't have a clue. It's just like those idiots that were appointed to Mindy in her municipal case originally. He's like, I have a discrimination. He's like, I don't know what that is. Yeah. Yeah, you were lucky. You probably scored at the bottom of the bar exam and barely got through this law school. And this is the sad. Sorry, go ahead.
Her case also really, it brings out a beautiful point of something I saw all the time in the hospital with the nurses and the security department. All you have to do is tell your buddy that you work with all the time, that patient over there is a little crazy. Why don't you go take care of that? He doesn't have to do any investigating. You guys are best friends. He just takes your word for it. That should, like the nepotism of what goes on, the abandonment of law, just because of our relationships with one another. But it's the same thing that can save us too, is developing those relationships with others and with men and women and being like, look, Bob, here's the deal. And I'm coming to you as a woman and I'm talking to you like this. That just the power of relationships. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Again.
Right.
No, you're absolutely
evil, for sure.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. So
you know, I just want to say throughout the municipal court case, I cultivated my court support through my community, my freedom community. I constantly asked people to show up to each of my hearings, my trials. You know, they were there for me, and I will go to, you know, the ends of the earth to help people pay back what they did for me, because they didn't want to see support for me. They, you know, that's how these tyrannical agencies operate, is in secret and in darkness. And they closed the courthouse off to any business on the days of my trials. There was nobody in the courthouse but me and my support and at least a dozen police. They had extra security on the days of those trials. I mean,
for you,
the city had about 20 cops each time at the courthouse.
So let me ask this question then in light of that information, Mandy. Who was really afraid of who?
Right.
Right.
Were you afraid of the system, or is it the other way around based on what you were seeing? I'm here to tell you guys it was the other way around.
Absolutely. I have something to say to that too for everybody else that's out there. A lot of us know who Ammon Bundy is.
Yes.
And some people don't know who Ammon Bundy is, but that is the crux of how his 150-year-old family property got saved at the Bundy standoff in 2014. You can all look it up. It's amazing. But he created this website. It's called peoplesrights.org. You can sign up. It's now globally and in Canada.
It's all over the place.
If you find yourself in a situation where, you need support at the courthouse or whatever, you can connect via text as well. And you can put out a call for help. And whoever's involved in the organization gets the text or the email and comes and supports you. Based on his experience, he created that, and it's wonderful. And he saved a young boy also from CPS up in Idaho. And of course, they're after him again. So he needs a lot of support. If you don't know Ammon Bundy, look him up on YouTube, support him. He's done a lot for the he and his dad continuing to keep the constitutional laws alive in our country just through their family. So pretty amazing guy.
Yeah, it's quite the story. I mean, they had federal agents that were just coming and trying to steal their land from him. It was insane. I mean, it was a modern day version of. I mean, who doesn't know about that Kevin Costner show Yellowstone, right? It's a modern day version of that. What they were doing is coming and trying to steal this guy's land just right on from underneath of him. So, yeah, great organization, great individual. I want to give a shout out to Ammon. I know that the People's Rights, whether he's running that or he's got other people doing it, they've given a shout out to our show. So we want to appreciate that. Give credit where credit is due. So, Mindy, I want to thank you for coming on. I know I hit you up last minute. It was like a couple days ago. So thank you so much for being willing to come on. And to share your story. And like I told you guys before, after about the third or fourth episode, I ran out of ideas what to talk about. And oftentimes Justice and I are texting back and forth. Sometimes Erica, we're like, okay, what should we do a show on? And so I really do appreciate you guys that are active in our Telegram chat group that are willing to come on and share. I've got a couple of other folks that have expressed interest and are willing to share their stories. I know there's another gentleman there by you, Mindy, in Oregon, goes by the screen name of Genghis Ron. So
I know him.
You know him. Yeah, he's got another interesting story. So I'm going to see about bringing him on sometime, and he can tell us about his story and what's going on there. So you guys,
there's been requests for workshops too.
Yes,
we bar grievances and things like that. So.
Yeah, we've had, and by the way, for those of you who are submitting comments to our videos on YouTube, thank you for putting those comments there. And I apologize for not responding in a timely manner. For one, I don't see them. I'm not on YouTube all the time, so I have to remind myself as like, oh, hey, go in and look at those. And so sometimes I find those and I reply to them. Frankly, the best way to get a response from me in a timely fashion is to jump over to our Telegram group and send us a message that way. I'm in that group daily. It's the easiest way to be able to answer as many questions as possible. So with that, some of you guys and just me, thank you. Yes, I don't like to say these things, but please, this helps us to get this show out there. Hit that like button. You guys know the algorithms that they use. The more people that like the video, the more exposure it gets. I am proud to say that we are almost, I don't know, maybe it's changed. Let me just double check real quick. Last time I checked, we had 926 subscribers on YouTube. Let's just see where we are. Oh, you stupid thing. That's what I want to go to. Sorry, I'm trying to get here. 934 as of today. So we are so close to getting to 1,000 subscribers. So thank you everybody for subscribing. But please, again, I don't ask for much, but I will ask you, please like our videos. Please subscribe to our show, our podcast, whether it's on Spotify, on Apple, on I don't remember what the other podcast platform, Podbean, Bean or Beam. I don't know.
All of them.
Yeah, Justice does all of that. God bless her. Thank you very much. She does all of that. So with that, we're going to close out the show. Mindy, again, thank you so much. Please keep us up to date, will you, on what's going on?
Thanks so much. I appreciate the time and attention and getting to meet you folks. I'm really excited, and I wish I lived closer to you all.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. You know, and if you're writing up court documents, by the way, I've read your documents, very well articulated. I can tell that you've been using Dr. Graves' information very well. One thing I wanted to say is that he will want to know about what you're talking about, the subpoenas or whatever you were struggling with. Send him a message, give him a call. His phone number's on the website. Call him and say, hey, I'm a member and I had this problem or this question. I wasn't finding answers in your course. He's always looking for ways to update his course. So
great.
Yeah, and he's due to come on as well. So he'll be on.
Yeah. We're going to have him on here soon as well. So, so thank you, everybody. Hutoka, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Hutoka, she says, would love coaching on a federal case against city, county, and court for wrongful arrest. Ooh, we've done that before, Hutoka. I've gone over the one that I wrote up personally for my friend, which has taken an interesting turn. We'll talk about that here in a future episode. So thank you, everybody, again. This has been a long show, but it's been very good. We love you all. Thank you so much. Until next time, next Friday. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.